But last year, my team did 69 transactions, and I have 287 people in my database. And so it was like I don't know what that number, 4.3 to 1, right? So the ratio got a lot better.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, the beauty of the consistency over time.
All right. Welcome back to the Real Estate Agent School podcast. I am grateful to have Garrett Maroon on the show today. He is an incredible person making a change in the world, has sold over 550 homes in the last 9 years, has a wife, 3 kids, and 1 on the way, and is here to drop absolute knowledge bombs on us today. Garrett, thanks so much for joining us.
Dude, thanks for having me, bro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking a little bit before this, and the first thing that I want to hit on for a second is obviously everybody's going to want to know, how did you do it? 550 homes in 9 years is insane. And then we're going to get into the really other cool aspects of your life. What was your growth like? You did it all through relationships. What did that look like? How did you build that success?
Yeah, man. So, I have been very fortunate that I came into the industry in 2014. I'm not from this area, so I had 40 people in my database, right? Not a huge database. And I at least had enough of an understanding that if I was going to build it, then it was going to have to be by relationships. That for me, that's how I'm wired. If in 5 years I woke up and had a big business, but it was built in a way that I didn't like, then what was the point of that, right? So I at least had enough wherewithal to say, if this is going to work, it's got to be this way. So,
yeah,
man, quite honestly, I didn't get any deals for 5.5 months, so I'm not some superstar, right? The secret to the success was
yeah.
I committed to the process. I committed to learning and becoming a master in one thing, which was relationships. And I did that, and I served my people really well, and understood the psychology behind why people refer and how to grow that. And so fortunate, my first kind of half year, sold 14 homes. First full year was 27. The second full year was 50. So I haven't sold fewer than 50 cents then. This is my second full
Amazing.
year. And yeah, it's been fortunate, man. I went in there with the heart to love people, knowing that, if you sow sparingly, you reap sparingly, right? Scripture tells us that. But if you sow generously, you'll reap generously. And that was kind of my mindset, man, just to love on my people well and do it consistently. And fortunate that it's worked out really well.
Fantastic. That's amazing. So, I mean, just from communicating with you, you're an awesome guy. You're genuine. You just care about people. And so what I would love is just give me an example of what that looked like building a relationship to get to the point where within a handful of years, you're selling 50 homes consistently. How did you build those relationships with people?
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that, brother. I mean, so when I started to realize is I wanted to go deeper into the psychology behind how consumers actually make decisions, right? And as I started to study, one of the phrases I often say or share with my coaching clients is, you don't have to outwork them if you can outthink them. Right now, it's if you want to outwork them and outthink them, go for it, right? But if you can't outthink them, you better outwork them, or it's not going to work, right? So I went into this mindset of I need to learn, I need to educate to get to a point to understand how are people actually making decisions. So, for example, I know that the average person has fewer than 2 close relationships, which is a sad reality of where our world is, right? They are over communicated with, but very much underconnected with. And so I went in with the mindset of saying, okay, it's not about, the mailers and the emails and those things. Those are important. What's going to really differentiate this is I knew that people will refer you if they like you and they trust you. It's that simple, right? If they like you and they trust you.
Yeah.
And then you just start asking the question, where does that come from? Well, it comes from a consistency of genuine contact, right? So quite honestly, there's no magic sauce. It was a taking a genuine curiosity in my people. And so, for example, when I would do video text messages to my database, I rarely ever talk about real estate. They know I'm a real estate agent, right? And so I would reach out,
Yeah.
hey, Cameron, hope you're doing well, brother. Hope, whatever, if it's January, hope you had a great Christmas season and New Year. And man, I look forward to seeing you at some of our events this year, brother. If I can help you in any way, let me know. Right. Very simple, very
Cool.
straightforward, very non salesy. And your people like you. They want you to win. That's just, humans are wired. And then I'll throw it back to you, brother. But humans are wired where if you say, hey, do you know someone, Cameron, do you have a tree guy? Right? You have a tree guy. I need some trees cut down. Oh, I do. He's awesome. Let me connect you. You connect them. Tree guy does an
Yeah.
awesome job. And they're like, dude, Cameron, thank you so much, man. I appreciate, he was amazing. You're right. You feel good about that, right?
Sure.
Everyone wants to have a quote guy for something, right? And so there
Yeah.
is value to your database to be able to say, Garrett's going to take awesome care of you. You do take awesome care of him. And then that person who originally referred to you is like, man, thank you so much for doing that, because now they're receiving the thanks and the praise from their friend, right? So, it really was just an understanding of how do referrals actually work? How do people actually make decisions, and be consistent on that? I mean, that's the easiest way I can explain in terms of how do you succeed. It's doing the right thing consistently. And that's it.
Yeah. Incredible. So you're out here messaging your people, getting in front of your people, and actually caring about who they are and what they do on a daily basis. You're just staying in touch with them and being a true friend. And the beautiful part about this that I don't think real estate agents understand is it is never about real estate. You being a real estate agent is the most blatantly obvious thing to your client on the planet. You don't need to be
So
like,
true.
you don't need
Yep.
to be like, hey, like your realtor, or like, hey, yeah, just reaching out about real estate. It's like, no, like be helpful, provide information. But other than that, it's more about caring about what they need and what their situation is, which is fantastic. And so
That's right.
what did it look like when you started to grow? Obviously, I was in the exact same situation. First couple of months, zero. You're sweating bullets. You're like, I'm gonna die in this career. I don't know if I'm gonna survive,
That's right.
and then out of
Yeah.
nowhere, you start to see these deals trickle in. And so how did it expand? Was it just you staying in touch with these people and them referring you, and then you just rinsing, repeating the process with every single person you did a deal with?
Yeah, that's right. So I would say the beauty of this process for me is I'm going to do the same thing for my database, no matter how big or small it is. Right. So I'm not going, so if I'm buying 20,000 leads and that got me 20 closed transactions, I have no idea what the numbers are. But then and then it's January
Yeah.
1. I'm like, dude, I need to sell 40 homes. Well, I better go buy 40,000 leads and hope that I get to 40. Right. The beauty
Yeah.
of the relational approach is I'm doing the same thing no matter how many people are in my database. And the longer I do it, the better my ratios become. So what I mean by that is, I started with about a ratio of 10 to 1. So every 10 people in my database, I got a closed deal off of, right? Well, the longer that you just
Okay.
consistently care and be in relationship with people, your ratio just gets better. So my database hasn't gotten over 300 people ever. And I don't want it to. It's going to stay roughly around
Really?
there. Yeah, really small database.
Wow.
But last year, my team did 69 transactions, and I have 287 people in my database, and so it's like I don't know what that number, 4.3 to 1, right? So the ratio got a lot better,
Yeah.
and that's, to me, the beauty of the consistency over time is, no matter how I
Yeah.
often share it like this, no matter how good, let's say, someone is at doing a cold call and making a connection with people, no matter how great that agent is, if they already know an agent who has been in touch with them every single month for 8 years, they're not going somewhere else, right? That just doesn't even make sense.
For
It's not even how
sure.
humans make a decision. And
Yep.
so it is just that consistency over time as you meet people and as they come into the fold. And the reality of, let's say, Cameron, you got referred to me and you're like, he was awesome. You go tell your buddy, thank you so much for the connection. Your buddy wants to keep referring. You want to start referring because you want that connection point too, and say, I've got a real estate guy, right? So it just compounds on itself. I
Yeah.
think that's the beauty of the relational approach, is that compounding effect of the effort that you're doing. And at the end of the day, man, at least for me, I know the numbers. The average person knows 256 people. So my database of 300 people reaches 75,000, right? 75,600. And the National Association of Realtors
Yeah.
says you've got a 91% chance to convert a referral. So to me, I just like that math equation. I can care for 300 people really well. That's me, essentially, if you will. That's me training my sales force, right? I care for my people. I check on them. I make sure they're okay. I throw events for them. I do things to care for them. And what's the byproduct of that? They're out there selling me. And so it's a beautiful approach when you can just understand in its simplicity, they want real relationship. And when they have it, they want the people in their lives to succeed. It is almost that simple, right? Now you just got to show up consistently
Yeah.
and do it the right way.
Wow. Incredible. So you've been mentioning a couple of things that you do for your database, like you're throwing events, you're sending follow-up emails or video text messages. What does that look like? Give me one of your clients and somebody you've consistently followed up with. What activities are you doing to stay front and be that top of mind realtor in their life?
Yeah. So great question, man. And I'll break it down. This is the system that I created a couple years ago. A 36 touches, not a new idea, right? I didn't come up with that, but I structured in a way. I structured in a way for me that was very simple and duplicatable. And they can get all this faithfulagent.com/course. They can go get it breaking down, and then we actually provide a monthly touch plan. So the email, the mailer we send out, the actual touch we make. But you can structure it yourself too. So here's how it looks. Every month, everybody in my database gets a mailer. Simple postcard. That's low value. Just show up. Just send them something. Every month, everybody gets an email. So I'm in mailer and an email every month. And then the real value is the actual personal touches. So 4 quarters in a year, right? So each quarter is broken down like this. The first month of the quarter, so say January, everyone in my database gets a video text message from me, just checking on them. That's it. 20-second video text. Use my phone. I don't use some app or whatever, just my phone. Second month of the quarter, everyone gets a handwritten note, or 25 people get a pop-by gift. I actually swing by their home. And then the third month of the quarter is a client event. And rinse and repeat every single quarter, the same cadence, the same rhythm with the touches at that point. So we're doing 4 video texts a year total. We're doing 4 handwritten notes. We're doing 4 client events, right? So there's a lot of actual physical engagement. There's a lot of actual reaching out and what I would call an emotional deposit into their lives, proving that you care, right? Because there's a lot of agents that say, oh, I work by referral and I really care. And I would tell them, prove it. How have you proven that to your database? The answer is they haven't, right? Yeah. So it's just that repeated. Quarter or month 1, video text, month 2, notes and pop-bys, month 3, client events, repeat, over and over and over every quarter. I mean, in November 2025, I know that we'll be doing notes and pop-bys, right? Like we just keep doing the same thing over and over. And like you, I'm sure your experience, I mean, success is relatively simple. It's being consistent. That's hard. And if you can just do it over and over and over again, you're going to be great. You're going to be fine. And so that's what it is. It's really that simple of a system. And we just repeat.
Yeah. I love how people make real estate so complicated. It's almost comical to me, where it's like, this business is hard to succeed in if 1, you don't know what you're doing, and 2, you aren't willing to actually do it. And that's the craziest part, is once you actually know what you're supposed to be doing, like if somebody listened to this episode and did exactly what you just explained for the next 5 years, they would be sitting in a financial situation that they would have never even dreamed possible. They could do nothing else, and their life would be completely changed forever. And
100%.
That is why I believe real estate is one of the greatest careers on the planet, because of what opportunities it can provide to people's lives. Like,
Mm.
it's changed my life. I know it's changed yours. And I know you
Mhm.
now with faithfulagent.com and your course and your training platforms are doing so, even on the financial aspect of things. And so tell me a little bit more about that. Tell me how you came up with Faithful Agent, what type of client services and what things you're doing and giving back for agents now.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I'll just say real quick, you absolutely make a phenomenal point. I mean, the beauty of this business is you get to choose how to do it. The hard part is you got to choose, right? You
Yeah.
can't try to do everything. It's not going to work. Do one
Yep.
thing. People are amazed when I say I've literally never done an open house. I've literally never made a cold call or bought a lead. And I'm not saying it's wrong to do that. Don't hear me say it. What I'm saying is I chose one thing to become a master and it's paid off really well. That's what they really need to do. Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. But we when we launched the Faithful Agent, quite honestly, we looked around, and I have a heart for really passionate about just helping agents have you get into this business with the desire for freedom. You get into this business with I can make something of myself, I can build a business, have flexibility, have success, right? And then you get a client and like all of that's gone, and the industry says no, you better do this
Yeah.
and this, and excuse me, spend X, Y, and Z money. And you're like, I hate this thing now. The real estate business now is what stands in the way of your freedom, right? And so,
Yeah.
it really hit home. And I'll tie into your question. It really hit home for me. So, 7 months at the date of this recording, 7 months ago, my mom passed away, and she
I'm so sorry.
battled cancer. Yeah, thanks, brother. She had battled cancer for a little over 8 years, and it got pretty bad there at the end, but so 2 weeks, let's see, about 2 weeks before she passed, I was able to shut everything down and just go be with her, my brother, and my dad. She lives about an hour and a half away. And then 2 weeks after she passed, I just stayed with my dad. So for like a whole month, I just shut it down, right? Literally, I didn't answer my
Mhm.
phone. I didn't respond to email. I just shut it down. And in the Lord's kindness, because my business was built in the way it was, I came back and my business was totally fine, right? Probably better because I wasn't there to screw it up, right?
Love that.
And so
Yeah.
I am deeply passionate, as I think you are, deeply passionate about helping agents understand that you will have a season in your life, you will have a moment in your life where you need to be present somewhere. And if you aren't building the business in the appropriate way, you're not going to feel like you can without your business falling apart. And that genuinely
Mm.
scares me. And so, one of my passions, which it already was, but honestly, losing my mom made me double down, is I want to be a place, and the Faithful Agent specifically for Christians in the real estate, but I want to be a place where they can get exceptional business training that helps them from a perspective of not everyone wants to build a massive team. Not that it's bad, but not everybody wants to build a massive team and sell 1,000 homes a year.
Mhm.
And that's how they get out. And if you do, that's awesome. I wish you the best. Some people just want to have
Yep.
a really solid career, really solid business that doesn't run their lives and doesn't require them to show up all the time. Some people just want a business that makes good money and gives them freedom. That's why we got into this in the first place, right? So we launched the Faithful Agent with that in mind as a hope to be a place where we can show agents that there's a better way and that they don't
Yeah.
have to trade their life for some sort of success. And so that's really the heart behind it, man. We are trying to help people get out of their own way. We're trying to, quite honestly, combat the industry that says you need to do X, Y, and Z to succeed, and say,
Mhm.
you get to choose, do it exceptionally well. We will help you. And then put pieces in place so that when you need to go show up somewhere, you can, and your business is fine. That's like the heart behind why we do
Yeah.
what we do.
That's amazing. I think there is a crazy toxicity within the real estate industry of what the standard people think is required for real estate agents. There's this, okay, at a drop of a hat, if a client calls me, I have to go show a home, or I have no business. That means for the next 3 weeks, I'm working 12-hour days, not seeing my family. That's not the business I want to own. And there's lots of agents out there that like you said, I totally commend the people that want to go sell hundreds of homes a year and just like
Mhm.
be a mega agent. But there's also agents where it's like, no, like I want life balance and just want to be happy and have an awesome financial career that allows me to do whatever I want with my family. And
That's right.
that's why we're super passionate about helping agents find that peace, find that balance, and get to the point where they're in the stage of life that they can just do whatever they want. Their business chugs along. They can bless people's lives with their knowledge and build an awesome life for themselves. I remember when I was a new
Mm.
agent, it was the first vacation I went on with my wife, and I was swamped. I was in a
Mm.
situation in my business where I was blessed enough to have multiple transactions going on, and the vacation was an utter waste because I pretty
Mm.
much sat in the hotel room working for a majority of the time. And I remember a specific instant on the plane ride home where I said, that will never happen again.
Mm.
I don't care if I sell 10 homes a year. If I can provide for my family and build a lifestyle where I cannot work on my business 10 hours a day, that's what I want.
Mm.
And I think the great part about real estate is you can still sell a massive amount of homes, but not work in your business a ton. There's business models to do it. And so,
Mhm.
tell me a little bit about some of the other things that you're doing now that you've been able to build this business and what opportunities it's opened up you and your family to with the success you've seen.
Yeah, man. So I love that. And it reminds me so much. I was I can't honestly remember the show, but it was on the show the other day. And I told him, it sounds like you had a similar experience. I told him that I just got to a point. I'd never seen anybody step out of production in their team. I've got one agent and one admin. I'd never seen somebody do that at that size. And I looked around, tried to
Mhm.
find it, didn't see it. And I was like, I don't care. I'm stepping out. So I've got to figure it out. Right. And it was from a
Yeah.
perspective of, I got to the point that I just made a commitment to say, I am unwilling to miss my children's little years. I'm not willing
Yeah.
to work 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I won't do it. I will be present with them. That's what I'm going to
Yeah.
choose to do. And I'm going to do my best to prove that you can succeed at a high level and do it all. And for me right now, 4 days a week, right? I'm off on Fridays. And so, really what it's afforded me is, number one, the opportunity to make money that I never thought was possible, which I'm extremely grateful for. Number two,
Yeah.
it's allowed me to, like, in particular, one of the things I'm most proud of is my agent Jesse, who's phenomenally gifted. He was working two jobs when I brought him onto the team, making 30 grand a year. And within 2 years, he was making 250 grand. Right. And
Yeah.
the reality of how much it changed him and his family's future too is awesome. I mean, what a gift to be able to do that for other people. And so the freedom that the relationships have been able to create for me in business has led to 2 hours a week in the real estate business and still make really good money, which is such a blessing. Fridays off. My buddy and I, who's actually the co-host of our podcast, The Faithful Agent, he and I launched an e-commerce business on Amazon, and it's terrible, but we're working on it. It's just really way harder than we thought.
Yeah.
Not all of your real estate skills transfer into e-commerce. We're learning that, but I'm enjoying
Yeah.
that. We launched this training and coaching company. I do coach people one-on-one. I've been diving into, I was convicted about a year ago that I just didn't understand money very well. And so I've been learning everything I possibly can about how money works, specifically through this
Mhm.
community called Wealth Without Wall Street. Guys are amazing. And I've learned a
Mm.
ton. I've read a ton of books, man. And I'm just at this spot for me where I don't know what to do with myself sometimes, right? Because entrepreneurs, we don't know how to be still. And so I'm like, I have free time. What
Yeah.
am I supposed to do? This is freaking me out. But I'm
Yeah.
using it. I'm using it to educate myself, right? Like it's May 16th. I've read 28 books this year already. And I just want to get educated because
Amazing.
I know that it will help me succeed in the future, but also help me serve other people. And one of my passions right now is learning, because I'm an entrepreneur and because I'm not afraid of going first and going into a dark room. I've recognized for me in my church, I want to be the guy that goes first and learns about business and learns about money. And I'll be the guinea pig. And because I want to take it back to them and show them how, right? So I've been doing financial classes for my church. We've done like 4 weeks in a row, talking about helping them build a business to create secondary income. And so, man, I think you talked about it earlier, but real estate's such a great space for you to go and learn just how to be entrepreneurial, how to make something happen. And that's really what this is.
Yeah.
And through that, it's opened other doors. And I've had failures. We had another training company, and it was so successful that in 3 years it lost $30,000. So not everything I do is a win. That's definitely true, but it just gives you that it gives you that space and appreciation for how hard business is, but what beautiful things can come when you just stay committed and stay working on it. So, man, I love the real estate industry. I think it's such a pure form of entrepreneurism. I think if you come in and just develop the skills you need to succeed, it will work in other places too. So it's a great industry, man. It really is.
Yeah. I think you're speaking every real estate agent's dream of getting to the point where they can exit production in a sense and go tackle their passions in life. And I think we're blessed enough where we've been able to get to that point in a sense of now we're able to turn back to others and help them. That's why we have our podcast. That's why we have our courses and training platforms, is because it's truly a passion to give back to people, to help them get to where we are, because we've seen what life looks like on this side of the fence. We've seen both aspects. And so I have a couple more questions and then we'll end this episode. I mean, it's been phenomenal already, but one of the things I wanted to touch on real quick is what you brought up earlier, how you were able to leave production with only one agent. How did you do that and keep the relationships that you had alive? Because obviously, if you built it off relationships, some people are going to be like, well, no, I want to work with you. How did you pitch business off to somebody else and keep your business growing?
Yeah, great question, man. And I get that question a lot, right? So two things. Number one, even for me, who has built the entire business off relationships, people at the end of the day aren't committed to you as much as they're committed to the standard of service that you represent, right? So if you can find someone that provides that same kind of service, they're not going to be upset. They will be upset. And I know from experience, because I had tried it before, they will be upset when you hand them off to someone who is not as good, not as helpful, not as talented, whatever. Because they're committed to that standard that you represent in their mind. And so you've got to find someone who's able to do that for you. And if you do, it's fine. And it's as simple as this. Someone reached out to me today. Hey, so-and-so told me about you, past client of mine, and we'd love to meet and have you help us buy our first home. Awesome. I'd love to do that. Hey, I'm going to bring in my lead agent, Jesse, because he helps handle all the day-to-day, and he'll probably be the one to do the first initial meeting with you. And I'll be here the whole time to check on you guys, see what's going on. Jesse and I talk constantly, but you guys are going to love Jesse too. And we'll both be here to help. Right. But then Jesse's the one that does all the talking, does all that part. And then I'll say, so that's number one, they're committed to the standard you represent. Number two is what I often tell, because I get that question a lot, from team leaders or that have been doing it a long time. And I'll say, well, what are you offering to your agents? Right. So for example, one of the guys is a great guy, big team, been around a long time, but he still keeps 40 transactions himself a year. And, anyways, but my point was to him is, his name's John. I said, John, here's the reality for you. You're not offering an A+ opportunity. And if you don't offer an A+ opportunity, you won't get an A+ agent. It's just not possible, right? If you want an A+ agent who you can step out of production and trust them with your business, you better give them an A+ opportunity. That's how it actually works, right? No A+ agent's going to say, you're not going to go to someone and say, well, that opportunity seems kind of bad. I'd love it, right? Like that's just not how this works. And so you've got to be
Yeah.
willing to step back and say, I don't need to be the guy, right? I don't need to be the girl. For me, I was having 50 plus
Yeah.
deals a year. I'm ready to say, I've got an A plus opportunity for you. I'm going to go find an A plus agent. I'm going to train you up. And then when you're ready, you get everything. Right. And that was, are you telling me I can make an extra 200 grand a year? Yes, I'm in. Right. And because of that, it allowed me to find that incredible A plus agent. I mean, he's phenomenal. And so again, I
Yeah.
think that question, when they say, how did you get out of production that quickly? The question what they're asking is, how did you find an agent who is willing to do that? And my answer always is, well, what kind of opportunity are you presenting? Because
Yeah.
we had a guest on our show. Her name's Jess Lanuval. She runs the listings lab. She's brilliant. And she said, one of her mentors told her, you have two accounts. You have a bank account and an ego account, and you can only put it in one. And so I think a lot of team leaders put too much in their ego account, gotta be the rainmaker, gotta be the mega agent. And they wonder why they can never get another mega agent to come take over the business. Well, that's why. Be willing to step out, be
Yeah.
willing to prop up this other person and give them an A plus opportunity. I guarantee you'll get a better talent that can take your business from you.
Interesting. No, I mean, it makes so much sense that it's almost like, why would somebody come take over somebody else's business if you're trying to still retain all I don't want to use the word glory in a sense, but that's kind of what it is, you know?
It is. Yeah.
And that's what makes it so challenging. And so with your business now and with what you're doing, what I would love to hear is, where are you headed? What's next? What is kind of your next couple of steps? And we'll finish with if you have any advice for a new or struggling real estate agent, what would that be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, man, where I'm headed, quite honestly, I'm not sure yet. And that's never the answer that people like. But I'm in a season where I'm, let me give a better, more accurate answer. I'm headed in a lot of directions. And that's my problem. And so actually
Yeah.
just yesterday, I sat and I just started journaling. I do a decent amount of thinking time. And I just started journaling and like, all right, where should I be headed? You know, what makes the most sense? Because as entrepreneurs, quite honestly, as entrepreneurs, when we do one thing well, we're like, oh, I can go do everything well, right? And so we just have this, which I love. Like we have this
Yeah.
eternal optimism, but it's like, oh, I could take on anything and it
Yeah.
will work really well. And maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But and so I'm really sitting back to say, you know, again, my only goal right now is, how can I create as much income as possible with as little required work time as possible? And I'm willing to go
Yeah.
figure out what I need to figure out, whether it's inside real estate or outside real estate. I'm willing to go do that, because my vision for my family and even my church family and those around me is a bigger life, right? More time with one another, more experience together. And so, quite honestly, I realized for me in real estate, I was never going to be to be able to scale up my income that much without putting in a lot more time. And so I got to the point where 250 grand a year, working 2 hours a week, which I still am. So I don't know how that's possible. Lord is kind. But that's great. I'm not going to, like, if I was going to scale it much more, it'd have to be a much bigger business. And I'm not interested in that. And so it just forced me to look
Yeah.
around. I'm understanding money, making investments there in different ways. And so really, man, that's where I'm headed, is to a place where should it be the Lord's will, that I can do what I want, when I want, with who I want. And some of that means serving the church. Some of that means just hanging out with the kiddos. Some of that means, you know, today, right before we hopped on, I took 2 hours off just to give my wife a break, just because I can. And I'm grateful for that, right? Kind of buying back that time. And my advice, man, to any new agent is, I would say two things. The first one is, it's going to be harder than you think it is. But just because it's hard doesn't mean you should stop doing what you're doing. you might be on the right track. I think it was, I can't remember, one of the Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar maybe, but said, you might be on the right track, but if you stop, you're going to get run over. Right. So if the train's coming behind you,
Yeah.
excuse me, you might be on the right track, but if you just give up, it's done. And so you
Yeah.
might be heading in the right direction. Keep doing it. People told me when I was a new agent, you can't build a business just by relationships. They told me no. And I was young
Interesting.
enough, I guess, and naive enough. And I said, well, I don't believe you. I'm going to do it. And so I just
Watch
kept
me.
working. Right. I just kept working. And so that would be number one. Don't give up. You don't know if you're on the 5-yard line or the 50-yard line, right? You might be right there. And then
Yeah.
number two is don't recreate the systems and the models. You talked about it earlier. If you want to do door knocking, check out what Cameron's got, right? If you want to work by relationship, we'd love to help you. I mean,
Yeah.
go find those models that exist. And I found a model and I tweaked it a little bit, right? But you don't need to go recreate everything.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there that want to help you,
Yeah.
that you can go learn from. Don't be afraid to invest money into your education to grow and get better, right? Agents that are even new agents are so quick to go spend $1,000 on Zillow because hope is a powerful motivator, but they won't spend $1,000
Yep.
on one-on-one coaching or an e-course or whatever, right?
Yep.
And always remember, you're your own greatest asset by far. And so invest in yourself first. Once you've done that, which you'll never run out, but once you've done that, and then you feel like maybe you need to go add on a supplemental here or there or whatever, fine. But don't just jump to buying hope, which is Zillow. Go to invest in yourself and get better. I hired a coach 3 months in, I hadn't made any money. And I'm convinced that's a huge part of my success, because I knew if I'm going to succeed, it's got to be with the help of someone making me better. And I think
Yeah.
so many agents at the end of the day, uh, and you meant this to be a shorter answer, and so I apologize. But
No, I love it.
last thing I'll say, one of my favorite quotes, Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid, right? The reality of that in the real estate space is there are a lot of fish, and the industry is telling you to climb a tree. You go try to climb a tree, it doesn't work, and you're like, well, I must be terrible at this real estate thing. I don't think that's true. I think what is true is you've been told to
Yeah.
climb a tree your whole life when maybe you just need to swim. And what does that mean? Go find the person that can help you swim and be willing to invest money into that. Because man, that's how we succeed. That's just
Yeah.
how it's worked. That's how it's always worked. That's how it will always work. And so that's it. I mean, you don't give up what you're doing now. It might be the right path, but two, go get better at that path. Choose a path, find a person who can help you, and walk behind them. I mean, that's how everyone does it that succeeds. Sorry, that was a long answer.
Yeah, it's unreal. I love the answer. I love the advice. And that's what's amazing about real estate is there are ways, like for example, with door knocking, I can knock doors and grow to a point where I have so much business that I can't even handle it within 6 months because of the amount of conversations I'm having. And so if you're the type of agent that says, hey, I want to have a ton of success, but I don't want to door knock for the rest of my life. Mix and match, create a hybrid model that fits what you want, where go make cold calls, go door knocking, do open houses, and then take incredible care of your people, build those relationships and start to transition into that model of just taking care of people. And you'll find yourself not prospecting eventually. And that's just, for me, the natural progression to a real estate agent that is ready to graduate in a sense and start building that team or start living the life of their dreams by just taking care of people and not wanting to grow or not growing too big where they can't control their business anymore. And so I love the advice. I think that's one of the biggest thing that's helped my success is finding and investing in things that have helped me grow personally to get to that next level. And so, Garrett, thank you so
That's
much
great.
for your time. This has been an awesome episode. I hope we can connect in the future, as well as anybody that's interested, go to thefaithfulagent.com, reach out to Garrett, let me know if I can connect you. And thanks for joining us on this episode of the Real Estate Agent School.